Hail the Forgeborn Initiates. This is Zwaxor of SOLFORGE Team A1 Alliance, and welcome back to campaign videos. This time I'm gonna tackle Uterra Mastery. I'm doing it without the role-playing stuff because, well, I feel like we're past that. Here I've heard that these later ones are actually kind of tough, and I even get to choose my own deck. Okay, I'm gonna go with this deck called Anti-Frax. This is a very interesting build of Necrium Tempest, which is my favorite faction combination, which employs Smolder Scale Dragon, deals damage to my opponent's creatures every turn, but Xerax Bite Mage kills pretty much anything. Cards like Brimstone Tyrant is probably the centerpiece of the deck. The deck just basically focuses on killing everything every turn, and then just overloading your opponent with large threats in the late game, like Smolder Scale Dragon, or Frostmane Dragon, or Zemus the Undying, that is pretty much Undying, and Nephrax, after which the deck is named. Basically just spits out a 15/15 every turn, level 3. So I'm going to choose that, because that's the deck I've been playing the most with recently. So, oh, I cannot remember this guy's voice. As you have seen, the Uterra are known for their druidic magic and ability to heal. This time I will personally show you just how powerful the Uterra can be. Okay, interesting. What does he have? Oros was a fearsome hunter from the Uterran capital before he awakened his powers as a Forgeborn. A large gem was embedded into his flesh after a battle with an elder Uterran Rex, lending him power and ancient knowledge. Do not underestimate this satyr. Is he a satyr? That's why he's got horns, antlers, I don't know what they are. Right, so this first turn, I get to go first, which is probably good. I am going to lead with Frostmane Dragon. The reason is that Frostmane Dragon is a card that gives you an extra token, at the start of your next turn. Just an egg that pops whenever I rank up. There's a bit of time for that, but that egg can be used to upgrade this Brimstone Tyrant to get the trigger, or to sacrifice the Nephrax. And also, putting it in lane 3 means it has free mobility over the entire board, so I can move it out to trade if I need to. Okay, let's see. Give us your worst, Oros. Okay, those aren't some very good cards. Right, so I'm actually just going to place the egg in an empty lane. And then what I am going to do is, because he's playing cards like this, I'm going to play around cards like Arborist Grove Dragon, which gets twice, which is a creature that is pretty innocuous on its own, but it gets massive if you have more than 100 health. And so I'm going to make sure that this dragon actually attacks him to get him below 100 health. And apart from that, I'm going to cast this Uranti Warlord. The reason it's in the deck is because when it enters the field, it deals 3 damage to each creature and opponent controls in the same lane as a Yeti you control. These are the only Yetis in my deck, but the thing is, 3 damage, 6 damage, and 12 damage upon entering. It's actually a very high amount on its own. And if you ever have 2 of them on the same turn, you get to do twice as much to one of the creatures that you're hitting. And then I'm going to finish off with this Epidemic, which kills the Ravager and gets this down to a pretty manageable size. I don't mind taking 4 damage from that, to be honest. Do not underestimate my powers. My creatures will heal me for every damage they deal to you. Okay, that's pretty good. Triggers, dot. Okay, it doesn't have a name. So that's interesting. Okay, so he actually has some powers. He does more than just being there. Alright. What I'm going to do here is, because all of his creatures have 5 health, but mine all have more, I'm going to replace this Frostmane egg with the Brimstone Tyrant, which deals 4 damage to all of these creatures, including my own. And then I'm going to put this Smolder Scale Dragon in front of his Dryad to prevent the damage. And at the end of the turn, Smolder Scale Dragon will deal 1 damage to each creature an opponent controls. As you can see, they all have 1 health, so they are all going to die. Spirit Bloom Dryad also gives me life, which is nice. And he's leveling all of them. The thing with Spirit Bloom Dryad is it doesn't level very effectively. It doesn't become that much bigger when you level it. So I'm just going to attack here without too much fuss. See, the Brimstone Tyrant deals 6 to this, which means the egg will finish it off. Because the egg has Defender, it doesn't attack this turn, which means I am going to get the damage off of it. And I am actually going to level another egg. Because this card is one that doubles in effectiveness at level 2. It's actually, even though its stats are not great, it's a 210 Defender, which is worse than any level 1 Defender, actually. But its ability is actually very, very powerful. It's basically an epidemic every turn, except for the attack boost. And then you have the level 3, which is obviously just absurd. And then, just for the sake of flexibility, I'm going to play this Frostmane Dragon. I could have leveled a Brimstone Tyrant to have it leveled. But having a Frostmane Dragon available for next turn is going to be very powerful. So he gains 7 health. And plays that guy. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel the ability of the egg. Because I want to move this into this lane. Because that's the smaller one of the dragons, so I don't mind that one dying. And then I'm going to play the Warlord here, deal 3 damage to the Mantis. Battle. And then play my Smolder Scale Dragon in the empty lane, which will finish off the Mantis. So yeah, as you can see, this deck is sort of just all about getting these advantageous hits on his creatures. Here I'm going to, first and foremost, battle. Because neither of his creatures are going to battle, and none of the ones I'm actually going to play are going to battle. Okay, so now I have options. I'm going to play this to get it leveled. The question is where, because if I play it ahead of the dragon, I can actually just kill off his creature. What I think I am going to do is play Scythian Direhound. Scythian Direhound is a card with Overload, which means it, when I play it, it removes it from the deck instead of leveling it. So it just has the level 1 version. But it has a very powerful ability that gives a creature my opponent controls -4/-4. So I'm going to play it here and shrink the Ravager, because that's the one that's this guy is going to die to the Smolder Scale Dragon anyway. Then I'm going to replace it just to fill out the space, because that is my worst creature, because that's the only one that's not attacking. Then that's going to deal 3 to this guy, and he's going to die to it when attacking the dragon. And he does indeed play Arborist, so I did play correctly by playing around it earlier, which is nice to know. So here I'm going to battle first. Let that trade happen. Deal him 11. Then I'm going to play Nephrax the Soul Weaver, the namesake of the deck, sacrifice the little dragon egg, and then put a Brimstone Tyrant in front of this because it's bigger than the Arborist. So as you can see, I'm pulling ahead here with some very powerful effects. The first thing I'm going to do is to play this Epidemic, because that's just going to kill off most of his board. Then I'm going to attack, and since I don't really... You have not won yet. The power of Deepwood courses through my veins. Okay. Wow, he just gained 1 billion health. What the hell? Interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard and level this Ebonbound Warlord. Ebonbound Warlord is a card that only has this... It has a decent stats. Not amazing. But it has an additional trigger as long as you play it during a rank that's higher than its own level. So I'm going to discard it because it's going to be very powerful during the next player level if I don't draw my level 3 cards. Unfortunately, I don't get to make a Spirit with Nephrax, but that's fine since that means my board is full, and that generally means I'm ahead on the board. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this dragon in there. Or no, you know, am I? I'm definitely going to replace this dragon just to kill off this because it deals 12 at level 3. Then what I am going to do is I'm going to make this trade because that allows me to, after battling, make another token and then sacrifice that to the Nephrax. So I have 2 of them now. So I can always replenish my army, so to speak, if I need to. Interesting that he would do it after battling. So first things first, going to play Epidemic because it reduces the attack of his units. So they deal less damage to my creatures. Battle. And then I'm actually just going to drop down this Smolder Scale Dragon. And now it's going to deal 5 damage to each of his creatures at the end of my turn. So he's going to have a tough time pulling back from this. This is one of the most powerful level 3 cards in the game currently. But as you can see, it's relatively underpowered on its own at earlier levels, and that's why. I'm going to replace this to kill off this doofus here. Battle, and then discard another Warlord. You can always, by the way, I didn't explain this earlier, you can always discard cards if you don't want to play them, and level the card as one of your plays, as one of your actions for the turn, which is what I'm doing here. Just to make sure that I still have a higher density of level cards in my deck without having to replace any of my good creatures. Okay, so I'm going to battle first. And we have to remember, this is going to deal 5 to both his creatures at the end of the turn. So what I can do here is position a blocker in front of this. Actually, I'm going to sacrifice that to the Nephrax. And then I'm going to play a Smolder Scale Egg here. Which means this is going to take 7, going to attack in, and then it's going to die to pretty much anything. At this point, I do think I just win the game, because, yeah, I do. It goes to minus 17. So, that was the fight against Oros. I gotta say, his deck was not as strong as I'd expected it to be. And a reward. We got an event ticket for the first win of the day. Cool. And then, my mission is complete. I get a copy of Oros. That's pretty nice. So he joins my party after I've defeated him. That makes a lot of sense. And then we have Necrium Mastery, which I've heard is the most difficult mission. And a lot of guys that I know, and know as good players, have actually had trouble with this one. But I am going to save that for the next video. Because, hey, more videos, more content. And also, this already took like 12 minutes, and if this one's going to be longer, the video is going to be too long for my taste. So, with that said, I am going to wrap it up here. Thank you all very much for watching. Look forward to the A1 Arena, which is a show match series I'm going to be doing from, I think, the week after the next and forward on Thursdays. Start time is not yet set. I think it will be around noon-ish Pacific. So that's 9 p.m. Central European. But it'll basically be an A1 member versus a member of a different team, or just a general member of the community, with me and another A1 member commentating. So that's going to be great. Past that, yeah, go follow me on Twitch, Twitter. Go take a look at the A1 SOLFORGE Blogspot page. A lot of cool content on there. And past that, there's nothing left for me to say but stay classy, Forgeborn.